Hi, this is Darren, aka Elegance with a 2 on the PokerStars Network. I'm going to do a quick live session of $3.50 9-man turbo sit and goes. I've got 6 on screen here. I'm also loading up a few more on my second screen, which I'll bring in if any of these, if we get knocked out of any of these tables here. So as per usual, early on in these tournaments, we're not getting too reckless. We're certainly only opening premium hands in early position, so aces, kings, queens, jacks, ace king, ace queen suited. Depending on the flow of the table, you can sometimes mix in ace jack or ace 10 suited. Certainly middle position we'll be opening up wider through to say ace 9. Broadways come into play then, the better broadways, king, queen, king, jack, and in late position certainly we'll be opening with all of our broadways, all of our suited aces, the better connectors, etc. And aces, pairs, small pairs, you can pretty much limp at these levels anywhere early or middle position, although you can tend to open your better pairs like your 6s, 7s, 8s in middle position. However, limping, you'll find that a lot of pots get limped around and you can see a cheap flop, or even if you limp and get raised, you can still sometimes invest a small call a small raise in the first 2 blind levels and have the chance of connecting well with the flop, i.e. a set, and stacking an opponent. Standard raise in the first 3 blind levels for me is 3 big blinds. That's in the 10-20, the 15-30 and the 25-50 blind levels. There's 3 big blinds plus 1 extra big blind for each limper. Standard C bet and value bet is 2/3 pot. That will be reduced occasionally to half or even 1/3 when stack sizes dictate, normally when the blinds get higher or against a really tight opponent. See here how it's been raised under the gun and a min raise and a flat call. I'm actually going to 3-bet ace queen. I'm going to re-raise ace queen here because it's not a big portion of my stack, and I'm hoping to find out where I stand early on in the hand, you know, so we don't get into too much trouble again. Had this been a bigger raise pre-flop, then I'd be more inclined just to check. I don't mind betting a flop like this into 2 players when we have position. There's only 1 high card. Chances are that no one's connected and they're not going to want to play a hand out of position if they do. So by betting there, we certainly won a pot where if we only flat called, I think we'd be more tempted just to give up when we didn't hit the flop. Players do open a lot wider these days under the gun, so don't be too scared to re-raise hands that you would be playing rather than flat calling. It's easy enough to give up when they come over the top of you, and you've lost less than you would have done if you'd sometimes flat called and then called a raise on the called a bet on the flop. See where we stand. Okay, so we've got 10 tables loaded up. We've got 6 on this screen that you can see. I've got 4 off screen. I'll keep you informed on them. If any big hand comes up, I can pull it in, but so like I say, we'd expect to be cashing in about 4 to 5 of these tournaments. However, it doesn't always work out like that. Sometimes you can go on I mean, I've been on like a 20 table downswing before where you do everything right and you just don't quite get into the money, you know. Other times I've had ones where I've finished in the money in like 16 out of 20 tables, and you've had a massive upswing. So that's extremes of variance, but normally you can expect to average out about you'll get in the money in about 4 of these out of every 10. It also depends when, obviously depends how your cards run, but I think sometimes as well, I do find on the weekends it's a lot easier to cash in these because players are eliminated a lot quicker. They get their stacks in with very marginal hands and the small levels, and it's not long before you get close to the bubble. And that's where the regulars with this superior bubble play and understanding of stack dynamics and push and fold and equity, etc., and ICM, that's where they really take advantage. Okay, so when we're in the blind like this and you flop top pair, it's always worth taking a stab in a multi-way pot. Now, because we've been called a little bit resistance, I just want to try and get this to showdown as cheaply as possible. That normally means by checking the turn and then then calling a bet on the river. I'm going to put out a value bet here though. I think I'm good enough to fold to a raise if one comes. But not that size raise. We'll call that, and we're probably going to see Queen 10 or King 10 here. 10-7 will do it. Obviously, they're entitled to have that in the being in the big blind. But I think checking there is too weak. I think had he moved all in, I would have definitely made a fold. But that's one of those crying calls where yes, you're pretty much going to be beat most of the time, but pot odds dictate that you have to call. We don't always have to be beat there, of course. There's a lot of chops on there were some possible chops, although we had the jack there. So if he was betting a lesser 10, we're going to obviously win that hand. And I suppose there's some misdraws as well, but I would expect that to be an all-in bluff rather than a min raise, which is crying to be called there. So there was a limp in the cut-off and then a raise. Normally a limp is like a small pair, but when he donk bets into us, I would have c-bet anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and raise him. This is similar to the hand before where we busted out on, and this time we win, which is exactly what we were hoping to achieve in the first in an earlier hand in the session which I had, which I think was just before the video started. Kings under the gun. I don't tend to limp. There's nothing wrong with limping with big pairs, but I think I find that when someone raises and you come over the top, I think it just gives your hand away far too much. I prefer to just go ahead and raise, and you'll be surprised how often someone comes along with you. Now, we were in the big blind with 9-7. We bet and we've been raised. What I'm really hoping for here is that someone is limped with aces or kings or a big pair. They may have a big draw, they may have pocket twos, but I don't think we can be too scared. They've actually got ace-9, and we're so far ahead. And we get an easy double up there. So you do get that players willing to put their stack in with like ace-9 on that type of flop. Notice here we got middle pair but no kicker. We just fold. We don't want to start building a big pot with a nothing hand. So Queen 10 I've raised in the big blind, and I've been re-raised by a tight aggressive player. It's 180 more. We're getting 2-1 on a call. I'm actually going to make that call because I've already won a few chips, and I think being in position with that type of hand, I think it's an ideal opportunity to try and smash the flop and stack the opponent. But we've missed, and I'm going to fold. I don't mind the fold there pre-flop, and this is on this table, by the way. I should have said the Queen 10 type hand was raised pre-flop. We called, and then we miss, and we're going to give up on that. Let's see what's happening. do apologise if I start talking about a hand which is on the other four. I'm just so used to looking at the two monitors and not doing these live session videos. So if I do forget, I do apologise if I start talking and I don't bring the table in, but I will try and remember to do that. King 10 here. I'm going to play this hand, but you know what? Because the blinds are like 6, 13 and 15, I'm actually just going to stick those chips in the middle there. I don't want to be re-raised off the hand. I've a lot of chips to play with here, so there's certainly no fear on my part. And it's going to be tough for them to call anyway, and even when they do call, it's still going to play fairly good. So just a quick rundown with the stats. Actually, we'll play this hand first. So the stats, the blue stat here is how many hands I've played with this opponent. So it's only 52 here. However, I've got 688 up here, so it's going to be a lot more reliable than this one. This next by the red 24 here is what percentage of hands the players voluntarily, what percentage of the players voluntarily put money into the pot. You'd expect that to be around about the 16 mark on average for a good regular. The one after it is what percentage of hands they're raising when they're entering the pot. Again, you'd expect that to be around about the 12% mark for a good regular. So a tight aggressive would be someone with figures about 8 to 16, and likewise the second figure will always be similar. It means they're quite tight in their hand selection, and they're generally aggressive with those hands by raising, which is what you'd expect, because the less number of hands they're playing, the more they'll be weighted towards high broadways, high big aces and big pairs, so you'd expect them to be raising and be ahead even after the flop. Obviously the looser players will have higher numbers here and they'll be raising a lot less, known as loose passives. Occasionally you'll get loose aggressives, but generally you get players which are either far too tight, even single figure stats like 8-8, or you'll get players with who play about 40-50% of hands and have figures even as low as a 0, so they never ever raise. Those are the type of players that you shouldn't be trying to bluff. Underneath the white figure here is the percentage when the pre-flop aggressor, how often this person c-bets or continuation bets. Again, you'd expect it to be higher with a tighter player, because their quality of cards is going to be much higher. So they're going to want to bet for value. And these other two is the first one is how often this player steals when the pot is unopened and they're sat in the button, the cut-off, or the small blind. Notice this hand here, we only had a jack, but the bet was so small we were always being offered the pot odds. He could have had a weaker ace, sure, but I think a lot of the time he's got a similar hand to us, and we had the top kicker really. So it's we can never fold there, and it's always worth calling down with what's probably got a chance to be very good at showdown. Sorry, going back to the stats. Yeah, this is so this player here. Let's have a look. Okay, this player here, we've got 698 hands on. They're raising 31% of the times when they're either in the cut-off button or small blind and the pot is unopened, and that's a pretty good number actually. That's what it should be, I think. And this number after is how often they fold a blind to a steal, which is probably it's worth having, but it isn't overly useful, because most players are very, even looser players are still very tight about calling an all in from their blind, but still worth having. Probably more important when we're getting down to the bubble play. So that's the stats. The important ones are how many hands, and that shows how reliable your stats are. It also indicates regular players and players that are probably recreational. If you're playing most days and a player pops up and hasn't played with you before, although they're entitled to be moving up or down stakes, it's more than likely that they're just a recreational player and just having the odd game. And you can alter your ranges and the way you play against them accordingly. Notice we had 9s there for less than 15 big blinds. We just open raise and stick it all in. Like I've mentioned in some other videos, the 15 big blind stack is the stack which is kind of ideal for shoving all in. You shouldn't be raising and folding from that stack, I don't feel. If you're going to play a hand, better off to stick your chips in. You can raise with better hands like ace, king, aces, kings, queens, jacks, possibly ace, queen suited, if you're prepared to call a re-raise all in. Otherwise, I think you're better off just taking that weapon away from your opponents and sticking the chips in yourself. Obviously 10 big blinds, I think everyone knows just to stick that all in. Don't get tricky from a 10 big blind stack raising with aces or kings, trying to induce it's just too transparent for thinking players. They'll see that they'll see through that all day. So it hasn't, you can see it's not long before already that we're starting to get to the nitty gritty soon. The blind levels, the stacks are kind of in that, or should be in the push or fold range now. Although you'll see a lot of players will raise stacks of less than 10 big blinds and fold to a raise. 9s here we're going to fold. There's been 2 players in the pot, so we can never be in really good shape. And we've still got all 10 tournaments running at the minute, which is normally the case about this stage. About the 150 blind level, I'd expect to have normally between 8 and 10 of the tournaments running. However, very quickly you'll see that we have to start getting our chips in the middle. I believe is this the player that we called down before, so I'm going to do exactly the same again. I don't see any reason to do anything different. This time I'm actually going to check to him. I'm going to give him one more opportunity to try and bluff. And when he hasn't, I'm just going to put in a 50% bet, half the pot, try and get called off probably a queen or 6 or something. See ace king here, less than 10 big blinds, stick it in the middle. Should we have a look and see what he's called us with? Oh, he had queen jack, that's genuine. So actually the king wasn't the best card for us in a way. It didn't change anything with the hand, but players don't think like that. They think it's a bad card for them when actually the king was a good card for him. If he's behind, he's still behind. If he's ahead, he's still ahead. But they think when the board pairs like that, that it actually instinctively it's a bad card when it's actually not. Okay, so King Jack here is one of the grey areas. I'm going to raise with it, even though it leaves me slightly less than 15 big blinds. I mean, with the 15 big blind stack, if you've got 16, 17 big blinds, sure you can raise, and if you have to get away from the hand with 13, 14 big blinds, that's fine. I'm not overly rigid on the 15 big blind rule, but I just think if you've got more than that, fine, you can put in a raise and get away from it. I just don't like raising from 15 big blinds, where I'm going to c-bet and then leave the hand with less than 10 big blinds, or have to leave it when I get re-raised pre-flop. And that's just a sign of how poker changes, I think. 'Cause I know a lot of the earlier books advocate the 10 big blind stack. Anything more than that, they don't. They say you shouldn't. They used to say you shouldn't be pushing in. Whereas I think now, I think it's completely. I certainly think it's changed now. It certainly is more in tournaments. 15 big is the new 10 big pushing stack, where players will call you very, very light from a 10 stack now. And mathematically it is CV as well. And you can pretty much push 8s or higher and ace 10 suit and higher from any position profitably for 15 big blinds. Although, like I said, you may be wanting to get a bit more action on your better hands, in which case you can raise. Consequently, you can also call from any position a raise, I would think, with pocket 10s or higher and ace queen or higher. And from middle position upwards, I'd be happy to call with my 15 big blind raise. So 8s or higher and ace 10 off and higher, unless you've got a really solid read on an opponent and they're ultra nitty, and you know they wouldn't be pushing with less than say the top 4 or 5 hands. But that's very rarely the case. Even a tight player understands that they need to be shoving somewhat wider. So here's a good example of ace queen under the gun. Just stick it in. Too many players here would limp, or they would put in a standard raise, and unless the money goes in pre-flop, they're going to be calling the this is the hand I'm talking about, sorry. They're going to be playing the rest of the hand out of position, so you just stick the chips in. It's not worth doing anything else. We've got pushed into us here, perfect example. It is a tight player, but we have to call with 10s, and we've got the same hand there. And we are kind of free rolling on the flop with the having the 2 clubs. I don't know if you've noticed the cards that we're using here. It's called the Hyper Simple theme on PokerStars. I mean, I don't even know what. I couldn't even tell you what the suits are, because I just know them as red, blue, grey, and green. And it's very easy when you're multi-tabling, I think, just to see the colours rather than having to stare at the suits now. I mean, I'm fortunate that I play with very large monitors, but I know some people play on a laptop, and when you're multi-tabling on laptops or smaller screens, you can start. I certainly used to be squinting a lot to try and see what the suits were. So yeah, it's called the Hyper Simple, and the 4-colour deck. That's the theme that I use, and I think it's one of the more popular ones. If you haven't got it, you can download it on. You can change it under the options on PokerStars. We actually timed out hand before there, and I think it was ace suited, something along those lines, but stack size was one of those ones where we could have either shoved or folded. I'm going to shove 6s here for 10 big. We're still 6-handed, plenty off the bubble. I've just lost went out on one of the tables that I've got off screen. No major drama, just a late position raise and for 13 big blinds with pocket 8s. Pretty standard, really. And they woke up with jacks, so I'm gonna say not too many dramas there. Just most of the time they're gonna turn up with an ace, or even broadways. Actually, their range is very, very wide from the button, or the cutoff. I think it was. Yes, the cutoff. So I hope we're going to get the money in some of these, because I really want to show you some of the late game decisions, which is the most important, because that's obviously where or the bubble play and in the money, I should say, because that's where you're going to make your profit. Okay, so we'll be calling this shove here. If one of these players shows, we'll definitely be caught. And they fold. I mean, I don't know what they had, but really with stack sizes of 5, 6 big blinds, I think they should be shoving almost any 2, because they need to make a move. There's been a raise here late position. I think I've still got a bit of fold equity, but we've certainly got ace queen, which will be ahead of their range if called. Same hand again, barring any bad beats with a flush. Just going to chop that one up. Sorry, I keep forgetting that that was this table here. My apologies. Let me quickly bring it in. Ace queens there. Was just a raise and a shove. So as you can see, nothing. Nothing too out of line there. I'm going to shove Jack Queen here. It's five-handed. I need to make a move. I'm currently not in the money. Twos here. Looking at the stack sizes. You know what? I don't mind shoving their late position with twos. The stacks are quite even. When the stacks are even, you should be more inclined to gamble than to sit and play for the try and get into the money. I noticed we got a bit unlucky with that hand there, with the Jack Queen, but I'd rather get unlucky on the ones where we're short stacked than on the ones where we've got the bigger stack and the real chance to cash. Sixes here, easy shove. Actually, what I'll do is if I pull that one out now, put this one in, because I think it's going to be almost game over on that one now with 2.5 big blinds to come back from. It's a good flop for us. And we get the straight, which we didn't need, but that's good. This push here, 5 big blinds, and we've got ace 4. We're going to make the call here. He has a hand, he has a genuine hand, but he doesn't need to have a genuine hand there. He should be pushing almost any two really. So let's see, which one should we bring in? Let's bring this one in. Okay, we've basically got 7 tables left of the 10. There's one more off screen. Like I say, we're getting down to a bit of bubble play now on this table here. But we are the short stack, so when you're the short stack, you're just to look for spots to push all in, to take the blinds, or even look for spots to possibly gamble by calling an all in, which is something you generally wouldn't do if you were one of the bigger 3 stacks, because you'd be avoiding confrontation and you wouldn't want to be knocked out. We've just had jacks on the other table, late position raise. We shoved all in with jacks and we walked into aces. Nothing you can do there. Again, at the mercy of the deck. So it looks like we're going to be out of that one. This is an easy shove with ace queen. Very easy shove. Okay, king 10, a little bit different because we don't. There's 4 players left to act. I don't want to raise for reasons we've already mentioned with from a stack of less than 15 big blinds. We will raise from a stack of less than 15 big blinds later, but that's that's more when we're in the money. Okay, there's been a raise here. We're not guaranteed any money, so I am gonna stick it in with ace 10. Which is pretty much, I don't think I'd stick it in with any less than that there, because we don't need to necessarily gamble from the stack size that we had. 8-2, this player's figures here is a little bit too loosey-goosey for me, so I'm going to fold that, but against a nit, a really tight player or regular, wouldn't mind shoving any 2. Although I'm getting 2-1 here, I'm not going to make the call. King 2 definitely has to be pushed all in. Okay, I'm going to shove this in this time. I don't mind getting called off the blind. In fact, I kind of want it because I think we'll be ahead of him. If we lose, it doesn't really change the dynamic of the table or our position in the tournament much. Okay, so we are ahead. We've hit. That should be game over. Yep. Okay, again, I'm going to actually fold the queen 2 there. Again, his figures suggest he's a little bit too loosey, and he's not a regular, or certainly not someone I've seen at the table before, so non-regulars will be more inclined to call because they don't understand ICM, and they just look at the cards and And if they've got a good hand, they'll play, not understanding that sometimes it's best to fold. You know, there's more. It's sometimes plus CV to fold, or often is plus CV to fold anything other than the top 3, 4, 5 hands. Okay, so we're in the money here now. He's raised on the button. Even though I don't think he's got a monster, I am going to fold that. Look for a better opportunity. There's antes aren't in place, so I'm going to fold that as well, that hand there. Ace 2. I really want to call, but there's another stack who's lower than us, so we can pass that opportunity up. Ace 9 here, I'm going to shove this all in the middle. I'm really going to try to accumulate some chips as I am on this. Tell you what I'm going to do, I'm going to move this table out because I think we may be closer to the bubble on this one. Okay, Ace 4 will be a fold. There's no place to act. We're in middle position. What it now is Ace 7 for 10 big. We get it in the middle. We'll take the blinds, or we don't mind a call. Now in the money, we're really playing for the. So we've been called or Queen 8. So whatever happens here, I mean, we've got our money in. We're good, you know. This one is pushed now. We're the short stack. We're going to call with 2s against Ace 9. We're slightly ahead. Not the best flop. Plenty can pair the board, but we've actually doubled up. I'm going to fold King 9 here because I'm third in chips, and I'm just waiting for this sack to go out. Once he does, then we're in the money. Ace 5. I'm just going to call and hope for some collusion here where we can just check this down. That's a great flop for us, by the way. And I'm definitely going to. I think I'm going to get it in here, 5-handed. The flush draw and top pair. We're still checking this down. Okay, I'm going to actually value bet that. I don't think we're going to ever be beaten. No, we're not. I'm just going to put in a little raise here to test this player, see what he's prepared to play back out with. Okay, that's a good board for us to see, but this time I am going to put in a bet, which knocks us just below 15 big blinds, but okay, we've had 2 callers. I'm going to check back, and then if it gets checked to us again, I think it's very likely that there's also another ace out here. In fact, I'm almost certain, but again, offering those pot odds, we probably have to call. That's not the worst card in the deck. If there's weaker aces than the 9, then the ace 4's just been counterfeited, but this is one of those hands where we're being offered 8, 1, 3, 3.5, more than 3.5 to 1. I'm going to call because this player just has been. Yeah, I think I'm really calling for a split there, but getting those pot odds, I think there are a lot of splits out there. I'm now putting myself in a position where I'm going to call with ace 9. And I'm just starting to get our chips in here, as you can see. So sometimes staying out of trouble is better. You can see that playing the ace 3 the way we did has actually cost us money. I mean, I could have folded. I'm kind of wish the bet had been a little bit bigger on the turn, was it? And we could have got away because we pretty much knew at that stage that there were aces out there, but the pot odds kind of suckered us in and left us with a stack which kind of got us committed with the ace 9. I've limped on the small blind with a king. This player's quite passive looking at his stats. I'm not expecting him to raise me that much. and I'm looking for a lister. Just going to take a little stab at the flop. He's obviously hit, so I'm just finished with the hand now. I'm going to have to call that with top pair. Yeah, I'm going to stick that in with King Jack because we are kind of joint last with this player. Another opportunity to c-bet. This is definitely an opportunity to c-bet because we've got the flush draw and the ace. Jack 8 heads up, definitely be pushing him with that. Ace 7, definitely pushing him with that. Queen King, we'll be calling with that. It's pretty. I'd never really fold my buttons, so even with junk hands, I'll min raise. This will be an easy shove with 10 big and ace 10. I'll still just shove queens in here. We've got less than 10 big blinds. Jack 3 will be a min raise. It's not a junk hand by any means, but it's certainly not premium. King Queen. You can see really there's not that much poker at this stage. Everything is push or fold, but the push or fold rate, knowing your push or fold, what hands you can push or fold profitably is really key. Pretty much any ace, any king, most of your queens, any pair. Your suited connectors play very well when you're the aggressor, so 7, 8, you can almost play those for like 20 big blinds. So we're hoping he comes over the top of us here, which he has with queens against ace jack, so he's still got plenty outs, but it doesn't get there. I haven't been keeping track, so is that 1 win and 1 second? I'm not sure. So again we've got 8-4, even though we've got a 10 big stack, I don't mind. This is a funny one because he's bet into us. If he checks to us, I'm going to be betting both the turn. I'm going to put in a little raise here just to see where we're at, because I just really don't believe that he's that strong. I think he's trying to get a cheap showdown. I might be completely wrong. Could be a bluff gone completely wrong here, but I just yeah, his fault. I just don't think he's that strong the way he's been leading. And then when we raise the 9, yeah, I just can't see him having anything he can call an all in with there. Jack 3 suited his plays reasonably well. Ace, any ace we call with. We're against Jack 7. Just need to avoid a bad beat here, and we do. That's another one. King 9 is an easy call. We've got him dominated with the king. Oh, sorry, he had more chips than us. My apologies. But we win that one, and on this one we've just won another one there with the queen. So you can. Sorry, I haven't been able to really analyse too much at the end here. It's all pretty much. It's pretty hectic, but you can kind of see that it's just. One thing you really need to look at, and I've mentioned this in another video, is try and get hold of the push and fold charts. If you give me 1 second, I'll see if I can bring some into the screen here. Push and fold charts, which are Chen's Mathematics of Poker. What we got here, 2-9. I'm going to push this 2-9 actually, because he's a tight player. He's going to fold most of the time, knowing that he's safely in second place, and that puts me a little bit ahead of this player in last place now, and we're kind of getting out of sight of him. Yeah, these charts here, the first one is push. These are the suited ones, these are the unsuited, these are the pairs down the middle, and you can pretty much see that I'm going to take a little stab at this pot. You can see that you can play most of these hands the aces, the kings, like I say, the queens for 20 big blinds or more. So that means you can push 20 big blinds or more profitably when heads up, and you can actually use 300, but more for heads up play. Okay, we're going to take a stab at this pot as well. We can safely fold with a nice stack that we have. And these are probably more important as well, the call-in hands. So when facing an all-in, these show what you can profitably call with. So I mean, it's just see if I can get one that's surprisingly. So I mean, you can call with Jack 9 for 10 big blinds. You know, gonna have to fold that and hope that one of these players knock him out. What's the suited connectors? Something like 8-7, even 8-5, 8-5 suited. You can profitably play for 19 big blinds. So you can push that for 19 big blinds. However, calling with the same hand, you can only call for 5 big blinds. So calling is definitely more towards pairs and high card strength, your kings, your queens, things like that. This is going to be another win here. Queen 8. I mean, why don't we use the chart for Queen 8 here? So Queen 8 suited, we can call for 13 big blinds. We've got less than that here, but why don't we gamble with that? Because even though we're not heads up, we need to make a move. It's a better than average hand, much better than average hand, and that's we've got a result there. 5-7. I mean, again, why don't we use the chart? 7, 5. It says we can push for 20 big blinds. We should be pushing most hands anyway when the stacks are even. We want to be the aggressor, and we've been caught where we're ahead at the flop. We've picked up a flush draw. We stay ahead. So 2 hands there. We've been called an idiot there by by this player. But I mean, the problem is a lot of, we can call this, a lot of players don't actually understand. They want you to be like robotic. They want you to they think it's just about the high cards. Players need to take the time to kind of learn, about hand ranges and calling ranges and things like that. Okay, so we're heads up again. I'll keep this chart here. Why don't I kind of guide you through with the chart? So 10-6, 10. I know it's going to be a push, but let's just to show you 10-6 there, 20 big blinds. Notice this here on the screen, the 19 big blinds. That's part of Table Ninja, the software I use, and it just tells me what my stack is, including the money I've already got invested in the pot. Now, in this case, obviously my stack isn't important. It's the effective stack, which in this case is 12 big blinds. I'm going to show that all in. I know that that Jack 9 can be played for any amount, basically, any amount of blinds. 10 Jack, exactly the same. But one thing, remember, even if you've got even if you've got 5-6 big blinds, I will, like I say, I never really fold my button, or very, very, very rarely. So sometimes if a hand is really junk, those are the ones where I min raise with, and in a way, I'm going to raise all in there with the king, and we're against a king, but that's like I said, it's the luck of the draw sometimes. Sorry, what was I? Oh yeah, so by min raising with your junk, when you've been pushing a lot of hands, what that sometimes it's actually a bit of reverse psychology, because the players will then take the unconventional move, which for you is the min raise, to mean strength, and they'll tighten up somewhat. So actually, you're kind of tricking them into thinking that your shoves are garbage, which they're not really, because you know that you're pushing profitable hands, but you're pushing very wide. Okay, we need a few cards we need to avoid here. So we didn't win that one, but I don't think we can grumble too much. But yeah, so your min raisers, which are your garbage hands, and you should always mix up with your mix in your really good hands like your kings, your top pairs, your big aces as well. You kind of like always balancing your range then with absolute junk and premiums, but it keeps your opponents guessing. So that was a pretty good session, I think. Let me just let's just have a look what happened there. I'm just gonna let's see what we actually finished on. Where are we? Okay, so we played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so we played 11 tournaments. I think we played 11 tournaments, didn't we? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We played 11 tournaments. We won 4 of them. We finished second in one of them, and we finished third in another one. So, yeah, I mean, if we just want to have a quick look at the maths. 50, 14, 8, 28, 56, 57. So yeah, 70. Yeah, so we got about $71 back there when we invested 38. So I mean, yeah, that's a great return on your investment. I mean, it doesn't happen like that all the time, although it does kind of they do kind of come in bulk. And I mean, at no point in any of those any of that session did we really look like we were going to go on and win. If we were honest, go on and win 4 tournaments and cash in another 2. But that just, you know, that's why you just need to play your game, make the correct decisions. Don't be scared to be a bit aggressive on the bubble, especially if you're not currently in the money. If your stack size currently dictates that you're not in the money, be aggressive. Learn the push-fold charts definitely, and you'll have many more. You'll have sessions a lot more profitable than that one. But obviously just don't be too disheartened if it turns out the other way, as that session very easily could have turned out and we could have only cashed in 1 or 2 and had no wins. So like I say, that's variance. It's a very volatile game, poker, but stick at it and you'll have some good wins. So hopefully you found that video useful. I'll try and do some more because I know it's hard to cover everything when we're multi-tabling like that, but I do think multi-tabling is the only way where you'll really keep interested and kind of can guarantee that we're going to cover each area in one of these videos, and I'll get some uploaded soon. So look out for me at the tables. Obviously subscribe to the channel, look at the other videos if you haven't done, and stay lucky. Take care.